Hello, and welcome to Group 8's Data Cleaning and Modeling in R lecture.
Good evening to everyone at the Euromoney Award dinner.
If you're looking to be a data scientist, most of what you will be doing is cleaning data. In fact, it is the most important part of what you'll be doing. Fail to get this part right, and well, garbage in, garbage out. In your quest for clarity and the truth, the lady has emerged from the metaphorical data lake with your weapon to combat the evils of messy data. And its name is the Tidyverse.
¿Eso qué es?
A ver cómo te explico.
What is the Tidyverse? It's the common tongue, English, if you will, for all the unfortunate souls that previously had to break their keyboards to do even the most basic tasks. As the name suggests, it is a universe of life-saving packages whose sole philosophy is to make R clearer, more versatile, and easier to use. This is not a tool for just beginners. Pros use these tools because they are so damn good and reliable.
Te explicas fenomenal.
So, that is what we're looking at today. To use the Tidyverse to clean and model our data.
Vais a ver cómo nos vamos a reír, a divertir.
So let's load up the Tidyverse. Below, the team has dived deep into the specific aspects of each of the Tidyverse packages relevant to our work today, starting with dplyr.
Atención guionistas, que aquí hay película.
dplyr is your bag of surgical tools, allowing you to change, filter, select, summarize, and order your data. It is fast, works with MySQL, SQLite, and Google BigQuery, and covers most of the common operations you'll be using in your day-to-day. If you are just getting started with dplyr, we've provided a link here for more details.
Hay que ver, menudo lío.
Once you're done playing with your numbers, you are going to want to visualize it. Before the Tidyverse, this was a tedious task that could even push someone on life support to flip the switch. After the Tidyverse, graphics are now more intuitive, smart, and quick to make. This is all thanks to ggplot.
La cosa clara. Vale.
To finish off our library combo, we've also included readXL in order to make reading Excel files a lot easier, Amelia because there's nothing faster for imputing missing values, Tidymodels in order to make sure our machine learning and modeling works perfectly with Tidyverse principles, and BroomMixed in order to turn all those R mixed model packages into nice tidy data frames. Finally, we've used model metrics in order to score our evaluation and our models that we make along the way.
La juventud está preparadísima.
And so now we can get to the juicy parts. Exploratory data analysis, otherwise known as EDA. Here, we'll first start off by importing our data set and getting a look at the structure. The first step is always to look at the structure using strdf and the summary. The reason for this is that there's usually a bit of data cleaning that can be seen straight from the get-go. And by looking at this, it's looking bad. I mean, this should be turned into numerics if it's a yes and no. Null values, this many null values, that needs to be investigated. See if maybe there's some SQL processing we can do. Ones, zeros, categories, all of this can be factorized. And creation date as a character instead of a date.
Muy bien, Sabio, muy bien.
There's a lot of work to be done, and the team has made a nice little list of all the variables that seem to be a little off, if you will. Summary data frame, of course, gives us all the information that we need to know about this on a high level, about this data set. And so we can skip through that, and we need to start thinking about our next steps. So we want to be able to identify what are those missing values, NA values, strange values. We want to start identifying as well which of the variables need to be changed and factorized, and which of the variables need to be put into date format. And in order to do this, we're using simple column sum functions in order to find what percentage of our data, of our variables, is fitting one way or another. So here we're looking for missing values. We can also use a for function, which gives us a nice sentence rather than just the entire list of variables. We can detect null. We can detect question marks because we saw that that was a thing. And already using mismap, we can start getting a good idea of how much of our data is actually missing from our data set. And this means we have a lot of work to do.
Venga, ánimo.
This is what we use in order to find unique variables, or at least categorical variables that can be factorized. By looking at those variables and their observations with unique lengths, we can start to pick out some things that we can start factorizing. For example, status, or whether or not they're a resident of this country, that kind of stuff. And so after you've started analyzing your data with columns and functions in order to identify which are strange, the next big step is understanding your data visually, using visualization, and ggplot comes in to save us.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Look at this. It is an absolutely beautiful graph with minimal work that we had to do, and there is so much space for customization. This is really a very good tool. And to give you a bit of a contrast, we found other tools that try to do something similar, and you just don't get the same results. It's good, but it's much more complicated, and honestly, it doesn't give the same prettiness look as something like this. And this ggplot is just the peak of the iceberg. There is bar plots, there are histograms, pie charts. It is a smart system that really lets you customize what you need and show your information and show your message. And so with these visuals, you can start to better understand all the variables that you have. And that's when we start getting to data cleaning. Now that you have a visual of the problems that you need to face, it's time to handle them.
Menos mal.
In order to deal with these NAs, nulls, and question marks, we could go row by row and attempt to clean it and use it piping, some dplyr, as well as grepl, in order to really start pulling it out. And we can see that this is already having a good effect, taking out all these missing values. But there's so many that we decided to actually use our own function to start getting rid of columns that are empty and rows that are empty. Now, of course, we put certain limits to that.
Profesional. Muy profesional.
This function, bracket filtering, deletes rows in columns that have only less than 10% missing values, thinking that this is not going to damage too much our results. But with columns that have over 80% missing values, we use this function in order to just delete them, as they're just filled with nonsense. This is a nice automatic way to start getting rid of all the problematic NA, null, and question mark rows in our data. And we can see that already it's doing a tremendous job cleaning it up and removing a lot of the missing values that we've had so far.
Ole tú, ole tú.
Se nota que te lo has trabajado, ¿eh?
It's then important to start thinking logically about what each variable means. For example, dealing with average cash deposit 90 days, we find that this value in the data set is negative, but this should be a positive or zero number. And so changes need to be made that way. We then look into the metadata for clues, trying to join numbers to meaning and vice versa, allowing us to be able to have more control and more clarity as to what we're using and what the values should actually be represented at. This recoding of columns and column values is done thanks to the metadata template file and the RVA metadata given to us.
Lo ha dicho.
We then start converting the categorical values into factors. So for example, this is the code that we use in order to code gender, making sure that all the options are made available, and also recoding all the null values to missing values in order to ensure our models work.
Qué simpáticos, pero qué divertidos.
Next steps, we're using more for loops.
Toma
Es posible, no es posible.
In order to convert the dates and date columns into actual dates, converting numeric codes like yes, nos from the character, and also converting age and years to a numeric number. All of this followed by the renaming of columns, which has been piss poor. They have absolutely no consistency in how they write things. And so we've made sure to change that as well. And so it's when you've identified everything that made your data set messy and you have changed it for the better that you can look at your structure again and you can look at your summary and you can feel satisfied in the result.
Esto se merece un aplauso. Hemos trabajado mucho.
And it's when you're happy with your results that you can start doing your linear regressions, classification models, and assessing your model in a way where you feel sure that your results are the best that they can be.
¿Por qué no nos ejecutáis y ya acabamos con esto?
Bye bye, hasta otro ratito, ¿eh?